And away we go.
So we do these things called whiskey shots, and they're just like short little blurbs that give us the opportunity to kind of vent off our feelings in some of these things and that are happening around us. And
they generally don't make for a full podcast.
No, they don't.
And they're chatty blurbs.
Yeah. Although this one could be a full podcast.
This one almost could be, so we're going to run with it. But typically, so we just got through talking about Brexit, so I'm going to basically timeline this whiskey shot. And there's a scene that's always related to the Search of the Holy Grail, and that's that famous one with Harrison Ford in the Indiana Jones, where he finds the knight and he has these choices between
the cups,
different cups.
Yeah,
blue pill, red pill.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, not the blue pill, red pill. Wrong commercial. Wrong commercial. And so he chooses this cup, and the knight says, "You've chosen wisely." So he drank and he lived. Well, we were kind of thinking this next kind of topic we're going to talk about kind of has that same risk reward.
Yeah.
And so we're watching social media closely, and Facebook is obviously one of the most popular ones that people follow.
Well, it's a big tool that we use to promote ourselves.
Yeah, it is.
It's the elephant that's hard to miss in the room.
It's a business tool that businesses need. I mean,
exactly.
It really is. It's almost essential.
And you go into it realizing that you are in the United States of America,
where there's freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech seems to be protected under certain circumstances now.
If it's the right speech.
Right. So, I've always
depending who you ask.
Exactly. So I've always been told, beware of the large print, because what the large print gives you, the small print down below will take all those rights completely away.
Right.
And that's kind of what we're dealing with now on this one, because this morning there was a handful of Facebook pages that were just basically wiped off the face of the earth. So I'm going to name them, and then we'll talk a little bit about them. So Alex Jones in the InfoWars show, Milo Yiannopoulos, Paul Joseph Watson, Laura Loomer, Paul Nealon, and Louis Farrakhan.
So there's a crowd in an elevator.
So
yeah, but regardless, hey, but here's the point: it's a slippery slope. Regardless of how you feel about any of those folks, and Louis Farrakhan has absolutely nothing to do with Alex Jones and vice versa.
Opposite ends of the planet.
Exactly. You have to be scared or be concerned about what is happening right now.
Sure.
Yeah, because what I think is sad
concern
is
probably better.
how they lap them together. It says Instagram and Facebook. He basically raced them as being right-wing extremists. And so going back to what you're saying earlier about a crowd in an elevator, that's a crowd you would never see in an elevator together.
That's why I thought it was funny.
Yeah, and that's what I think
saw in my head.
And what I think is funny is that's basically how Facebook has lumped these people.
Yeah.
It's really sad because freedom of speech is the crux of one of the liberties of American citizens. And Zuckerberg and his social media enterprise basically is now making himself judge and jury.
Yeah.
But he also brought in some complicit voters in this one. How did they determine who was getting voted off?
Well, from what I understand is this is a total Facebook-driven, policy-driven decision on these individuals.
But wasn't there people that were consulted on these names?
Well, and what they said was that these were all in clear violation. They were all putting out banned content under Facebook rules. But what's interesting is Facebook went through this whole dog and pony show and went out and did a pre-presser prior to banning all of these pages with all of these select news outlets like the Washington Post. Come on, guys. So, if these people are out there putting out this trash and violating your policy, you're going to let them sit around there for all of this time until you do this presser that says, "Oh, hey, look at me. We're doing the right thing here. We're trying to control all of these out of control people on our product, on our system, and we're deleting them completely today."
See, that explains why they led with Alex Jones, because that's such a hot button name.
Right.
People
absolutely.
So 2 questions I have is the metrics that they came up with to execute this. Was this something that was agreed upon between all the accepted social media companies out there? Because
absolutely not. This is a Facebook-driven deal.
Mm-hmm. And
they all have about the same policy, though, Graham. I mean, if you really look at if you look at the EULAs and stuff like that, they're all very similar.
Yes, and then the Go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's interesting because Facebook again is positioning this, banning a bunch of far right figures from its apps, including Alex Jones. So it's sensationalism.
It is.
I've always felt like when you use catastrophic language, that very short sentence has the biggest impact. And so when Facebook looks at, I don't know, I just think that far right is disingenuous. If they're going to say
Louis
it correct,
Farrakhan.
yeah, if they should say it, they should say extremist
Right.
or content not suited for, but they don't do that. So to me, it's not really a legitimate banning. It's basically a wordplay on to get the word right-wing extremist.
Well, yeah,
out there.
it's a word game that they play, so they can put the shiny armor on. Because they look at the news outlets that they went to. They know their audience, so they're going to that audience and saying, "Look, we have our shiny armor on. We're doing the Lord's work here."
It's like every one of these social media outlets, and whatever fashion and impact they make on the social media world, is they've all sort of become an extension of the government if you look at it in the right light.
Sure.
Facebook is asking the government to come in and
Yes.
censor.
So basically it says that Facebook briefed journalists and made announcements before the bans came into effect, giving the figures time to respond. So it's funny because it's like people that are talking about polling information.
Yeah.
That was one of the things I got muted yesterday on discussing polls.
For polling, yeah.
Yeah, yesterday was my mute day. Everybody that knows me knows I generally don't kick the sand.
Ken woke up in a mood.
Yeah, I woke up in a mood yesterday because I'm getting tired of watching this stuff. I generally don't do this. But they were talking about the polling. They were saying how Biden was polling this and polling that. And I was like, I'm 58 years old. I've voted in every election since I've been able or eligible age-wise to do so.
Right.
I have never once been polled by anybody.
By the way, Ken just moved in next to the Hells Angels. I don't know if y'all knew that.
Yeah, is that the yard guy?
Somebody just got a new play toy.
Yeah. So
Anyway.
what I think is funny is that you got to wonder where these polls are being conducted.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
it's because it gave the pecking order of the Democratic race, which who gives a shit? I don't care. But what's really funny is this whole thing raises questions. Is why Facebook decided to try and organize a PR opportunity rather than immediately taking action against the accounts directly.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is you want to have people to share the blame with.
Right.
Basically, you're introducing. I did this fair and balanced.
Uh-huh.
When
That's why they put Farrakhan.
That's
in there.
why they put Farrakhan in there. That's exactly where I was. That's
who
where I
are
was
you
headed
really
with that.
losing? Who
Yes.
are you who offending? If you get him out of there. So,
Right.
Hey, all those far right folks, they can't bitch too much because we put Louis.
Yeah, we put
Farrakhan
him
on
in there.
Yeah. And so that's really it. So when you look at the scope of Facebook and you start looking at all these different things that come into play, you kind of got to ask yourself, I know they own the page.
Yeah.
I know they own that. But when you put yourself out there as an entity that allows people to share conversations
Right.
and discussions, that means you, the viewer, have the right to like or dislike the page and not follow it.
Same with free speech.
Yeah, it's the same.
I don't have
brother.
to listen to you.
Yeah.
I have the right not to listen to you.
Yeah, so who is it hurting if it's out there? Now, I will say there are people that will share memes that don't make any sense. Like there was one that went around yesterday about a sergeant, whatever his name was, that 2 Syrian refugees raped his daughter, and he went and found them and choked and killed them.
Okay.
Doesn't exist. The guy by that name does not exist in the military, and there's no such story. But this meme caught traction and just went like wildfire. Just like we were talking yesterday about Henry Winkler dying.
Yeah.
That
was
went
a
out
great
there
one.
to where Henry Winkler had died, and other celebrities have died, when in fact they haven't. So you're going to get your trollers, you're going to get all these people that do this, right? There is some responsibility upon the viewer or the sharer
Right.
to do some background work on it. But for Facebook to come in and say, we'll do the censoring for you, it's not right. I mean, there's a full-born every minute. I mean, there's people that think by going and seeing somebody and getting crystals, it's going to make their life better.
Well,
That's what free enterprise is about.
Have-
your power to choose.
Have we reached a point where you can't have a discussion and identify that y'all clearly don't agree on a majority of whatever the topic is, to the point where you now say this platform is no longer available to you? I was like, that is nuts.
Well, I mean,
when you look at what happened in Kosovo, if you look back in the day, okay, when ethnic cleansing was going and they were taking over the news media, okay, CNN was the first in line over there. And so you had guys like Anderson Cooper.
Who's CNN?
Yeah, the Communist News Network. Or the Clinton News Network.
Either one.
And so what you had was you had Anderson Cooper working over there as basically a propaganda specialist. That's what he did.
Yeah.
This is his first job.
What do you mean that's what he did? He still does
He
it.
still does it today. And so what he basically was doing is he was sharing party line propaganda throughout that whole area during a military operation, basically.
Right.
So again, you have what is perceived as a public news entity that is interjecting itself, not being fair. And I don't like using fair and balanced because everybody ties that to Fox. And I don't think Fox is fair or balanced.
Right.
I think they're just as bad as the other
just
group.
the other way.
Just the other way. And so the whole battle of extremism arguments, one can argue that Facebook is being an extremist in their actions, okay? Because they're promoting that type of activity.
Sure. To me, it reminds me of the old. I say the old. It reminds me of the Middle Ages Catholic Church. That's what it really reminds me of. The control of information. If you really look at it, they're taking the same perspective as the Catholic Church back then.
Right.
In that we're going to control the information that you get.
So
We're going to shape your belief. Is what we're going to do.
So
Give you the right belief.
Zuckerberg is Bernardo.
Pope.
No, Zuckerberg is Bernardo Gui, the Inquisitor.
Okay.
He's the
There you go.
Inquisitor.
So
Okay.
I have this relatable.
Pope
I mean,
book.
this story is because I grew up Catholic,
Right.
and I remember, and this was a real thing. Is this came from the priest and so when Thornbirds came out, this week-long series.
Oh yeah.
You were a horrible Catholic.
Rachel
if you
Ward.
if you paid attention to that movie. Do not. You're basically without saying you're forbidden from watching it. You're sort of forbidden from watching it.
That was it Rachel Ward and Richard Chamberlain, I think
Right.
it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that does go way back there. So yesterday, going back into the mood I was in, I do a lot of food stuff. So I'm on a lot of food groups, and so a lot of them do a really good job of just providing pure entertainment regarding places to eat,
Yes.
food information,
Staying within the business.
staying
of your
within the business, right? Well, there was one out there. I'm not going to name them. I'm just not going to do it. But they went out there and they basically posted a story completely out of character. This is the first time I've ever seen anything on their page like that. And they basically were saying that the president ran up $1,000 bar tab at Mar-a-Lago Resort and stuck it to the taxpayers. Okay? And so this thing just ran like wildfire, and literally the likes and the angers.
I'm surprised Putin didn't take the bill.
I know, right? Yeah,
So
according
is
to
that
them.
is that a business tactic for them?
Well, that's what I couldn't understand. So they basically have made this big swing into a political arena. So all I did was reply
Yeah.
with the fact that if, I guess you have forgotten that the president forgoes a salary, donates it to veterans and educational causes, women causes, all these great things. And that compares in the $1,000 tab compares in no way to the sins of all our politicians that are on record, long records of abusing taxpayers.
Didn't Pelosi take a
Goodwill.
plane trip?
Yeah,
not too
that's
long ago to
exactly
yeah.
what
fly her
happened.
family? Okay,
Oh yeah,
so just,
a
there we go.
lot of these people.
Anyway,
And so we have, and then so even Travelgate was a big scandal over not reporting, because the way you had anybody that does any kind of deductions or per diem, you have to turn in a log.
Yeah.
Right.
And the Clinton White House refused to do that on her travel log. And so anyway, so we have this huge laundry list. I kept it very clean, no names. I got muted for that. I basically was not able.
they shut you down.
Yeah, they shut me down because I was an opposing, and I was very respectful. Didn't name names. I was trying to dance
you
my way
hurt
through
their
it carefully. I hurt their feelings.
Polite language,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
So the second one was Channel 12 News,
Yeah.
a local news station,
Yeah.
and so there was a helicopter flying around a gas station where a kid got. The way they did it was sensational headlines: child shot during road rage incident, right?
Yeah.
And so the way they do it is they mute the camera, because they mute the mic so the helicopter pilots don't comment; they just fly circles, right?
Yeah.
So the comments were rolling up there about gun control and Americans and is the baby okay, prayers and everything like that. And then this one popped up and it just caught me. It says "You Americans," and I was like right away, you Americans are blah blah blah, and you need reform and you need gun control and stuff like that. And I basically was like, dude, are you you sound like you're not from here.
Signed Hugo Chavez.
You have clearly separated yourself from us.
Are you not from here? I said, because you sound like, are you even a legal American citizen?
Right.
What part of town are you in? So I knew I crossed that line.
I'm coming down there.
I knew I crossed that line, and I got muted on that
Where's
one.
your taco truck?
Yeah, but what's so sad about it is that, to your point, opposing viewpoints, it's supposed to be about point and counterpoint. I can understand violation of community standards if you're cursing somebody,
Sure.
if you're berating somebody. I mean, Sam can literally run off a litany of exchanges he's had on different groups playing different sides of it. So we have this whole psychological manipulation thing going on in the way we approach these conversations, because we're trying to elicit response levels. We're trying to see where the boundaries are. And what's really funny is that now it's really watered to the point to where it's just, if you disagree, you're out.
Yeah.
And
that's sad.
When I do that, I'm trying to understand from the direction that you're speaking. I honestly want to know.
Yeah.
I don't prejudge and say, okay, because this person has a different opinion than me, they're immediately stupid.
Well, it goes back to that Socratic method that you're talking about.
Yeah, it's I want to hear everything, and then I'll make my own decision.
Right.
So I don't immediately leap and say, hey, this is...
Well, it can even go deeper than that, though. It's a slippery slope, right? So right now, they've banned InfoWars, right? Mm-hmm. So let me all ask you this. What if you share an InfoWar video on Facebook now? Yeah. And you get banned. Now your page is gone.
Right.
Where do you draw the line? Seriously.
That's true. You know what's really funny, though? I don't watch InfoWars, Steve.
Yeah,
no, I was just using that as an example.
I know, you know what I'm saying, though. But what I'm saying is that, because we just talked a minute ago about a guy in Great Britain that basically lost his rights to his permit to own a firearm in that country, not by saying anything derogatory, just mentioning...
His comment was to the effect of, I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit, but he got on Facebook and he said, it's almost to the point to where if you say anything about home defense with a weapon, you'll get your permit yanked. And they took his permit to own a gun over that.
And that's all he said.
That's it.
And it's coming here.
Oh, it is. It's just a matter of time. So going back to that same food page, they posted, again, they went political. And so what ended up happening is they got this huge thread of people complaining, saying, hey, we come here for places to eat and food experiences. What is the deal with all the politics?
Yeah.
So I took it upon myself to contact...
Took up the sword to fight the fight.
I took up the sword. I contacted the person that moderated the page and basically said, hey, if you're doing your job, you're looking at all these comments and you're going to find out that that's not why people come to your page. I don't think it's smart or good for your page.
Right.
Okay.
Didn't like that comment.
So didn't like that comment. So I got warned again. And so they put on another one about the Texas SNAP program. It was basically a food stamp program. And they were saying that, how do you feel about the Texas legislation voting against allowing people that use the SNAP or food stamp programs to buy sugared snacks?
So they posted something that elicited a response.
Yes.
In other words, they're asking a question.
Right.
And if you didn't give the right answer,
right,
you failed.
So what I did is I gave a response that I thought was fair. Okay, I basically said, well, if you remember back in the day, there was a USDA food program that had commodity foods.
Oh,
and
yes.
these commodities were all built upon the food pyramid.
Yeah.
So they were made to give people that needed help with this a balanced meal throughout the day. It was basically what they call generic foods, okay? And it was companies agreed to manufacture a percentage of generic foods to feed people that needed nutritious, healthy food without, making them feel bad about it, right? So I basically said, so what ended up happening is that moved on years later to where these people decided the generics was a viable brand to sell in the retail world. So they pulled it from the USDA program, and the government gets lazy and they just issue a card that allows you now to go to the grocery store and pick what you want.
Buy beer, whatever.
Yeah, off the shelf. Yeah. And so a lot of people are told in the grocery world not to argue with what they pick because it's not worth the bad
fight.
Press.
Right.
Because the people are always worried about the press. So what ended up happening was I said that now the Texas state legislature is trying to take responsibility for people's well-beings. We've been forced to buy healthcare insurance. We're burdening a healthcare system not only with illegal aliens, but with people we are now feeding high sugar foods to. So we're promoting obesity and diabetes. And now you're asking us to agree with you in the fact that we're infringing on their rights to buy sugared snacks when we're actually trying to keep them out of the hospital and out from dying. Anyway, I was going on, and I got...
Logic Train left them, and they banned you.
and I got banned again. And I'm like, dude, all I'm providing is a logical counterpoint to this thing. And it was
strike 3, you're out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So it was funny because I'm like, because I could see if I was saying, you morons, get your head out of your ass. I'm not doing that.
No.
I was basically saying this is why we're doing this as a state. And I can go on. Yesterday was just one of those days to where I could just...
I was entertained. I sat back and kind of watched. I was working.
So I called Todd. I was like, can you believe I got bounced? What's going on here? But anyway. I've never got bounced.
I didn't know about any of this stuff until you told me about it.
Yeah,
I was entertained at work. Yeah. I was trying to work, but I was keeping my eye on it at the same time.
I was like, because since I guess I've been on social media since 2011 or maybe earlier than that, whenever Facebook started, and I've never been censored. Because I try not to cross that line.
Right.
And I don't think I crossed that line. All I was doing is offering a counterbalanced discussion to it. So this is what is happening, and this is not right. I know that, what is your fight? What are you going to do, start your own social media? Right. No. You have to stop them from doing this.
Right.
You have to make your voice heard somewhere. Because at the end of the day, it's not up to a social media organization to shape any discussion that is exchanged between two human beings in this country. It's just not. It's not their place.
Vote with your wallet, or the Knights of Facebook will ride you down.